Okay, so oil's about $100 a barrel, up from what was it, $50 a barrel or something? And recently, I mean, it's getting pounded, so we all have to pay more at the end. Now, I filled up over the weekend, and I didn't like it. It's 50 cents a gallon more in my town than it was 3 weeks ago, but I wasn't whining about it. I understand it. That you're going to disrupt the world oil markets, then you're going to have higher prices. What I don't understand, I'll get to in a moment, why we have so much oil in the USA. Why are our prices going up? We're not importing oil, so why are we getting hosed? We're going to deal with that. Now, late today, President Trump issued this statement. This is all right, quote, "This war was started by Barack Hussein Obama and Joe Biden. We've been fighting it for 47 years. I'm putting an end to it because I am the peace president," says Mr. Trump. "This week, I will be creating the Hormuz Peace Board, where our so-called coward NATO allies are not welcome. But many real allies have already expressed desire to join this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to secure the Hormuz for peace. Thank you for your attention." All right, so Donald Trump's not backing away from anything. NATO doesn't like him. Okay, we all know that. But NATO isn't cooperating with the Iranian action by and large. They're not. And that's kind of spooky because, boy, oh boy, those people know. Every European country knows what forced migration has done to it and how dangerous Iran really is. They're not that far away. Okay, let's get into why we, the people, are involved with this in our wallets. Dr. Peter Morici is a economist and professor emeritus at the University of Maryland, and he joins us now from Alexandria, Virginia, just a few miles from where I am. You know, I'd love to have you in the studio, but we don't have a studio in another chair here in D.C. Only in one chair. So
It sounds like the first place I taught, this little
yeah,
Lutheran college in Minneapolis. We couldn't afford chalk.
right. I had to put you on a bird because it's not a chair. We can't get another chair. And there's only one camera. It's just like boom. All right. So look, doctor, we have plenty of oil in the United States and they're releasing the reserves and they're doing everything. Why am I paying 50 cents more a gallon? Why?
Well, because we can export the oil for one thing, and we also import refined products. We don't refine all the gasoline we need, so we're importing refined products which are made out of more expensive oil. But the U.S. price goes up and down with the Brent crude price. The Texas Intermediate price goes up and down with Brent crude, and they've both gone up by about 50%.
But I don't understand that. So usually it's supply and demand. And the
Well, that's what's
supply
going
of oil,
on.
and I get your point that we need some ingredients that we have to bring in here, but that's not the big thing. The big thing is the world price of oil, which is now over $100. Okay, but we in the United States, we don't have to buy that oil. So why
But we
are
do.
I don't go
Well, we
ahead.
don't we don't pump exactly the right kind of oil for our refineries. So what we tend to do is export some of it and import some refined product. The other thing you have to consider is anybody who's got oil to sell, they can sell it abroad for a lot more money than they can here, and so that lifts the price.
But I think it's the U.S. companies that are doing this. They're lifting the price, and they don't have to lift the price. It's almost like a cabal. It's almost like a monopoly because all the same Sinclair or Mobil or Exxon, they all do the same thing.
Well, they are making money, but they tend to do the same thing under all circumstances because they're responding to market prices. I mean, two farmers that have beef cattle of the same quality, they sell at the same price because the market and supply and demand dictate it or require it. You
But
can't
don't you
expect
think
one
there's a
farmer to sell cheaper
collusion?
than another.
Don't you think there's a collusion among American oil companies to get these prices up as high as they can get them?
I hate to tell you this, but you're starting to sound like Elizabeth Warren or AOC talking about the banks. I don't think they're conspiring at all. Now they see
No?
what each other does, and that's a problem. But that's a problem in a lot of markets. But I don't think, I don't buy this notion that America is a conglomeration of monopolists, like the grocery stores are conspiring and the oil companies are conspiring.
No, I'm
It's
not a
pretty tough to
conspiracy
do
guy
that.
either, but I don't know any other product that has the same price in 4 gas stations. I don't know any. And when the president says, well, we're going to release all this oil from our reserves, and the price doesn't go down.
Well, it takes time to pump it out.
Why bother releasing it?
Joe Biden pumped out about the same amount of oil as Donald Trump has now authorized. As the oil and the salt domes go down, there's less pressure and it comes out more slowly. And then you have to disperse it into the marketplace. These things do not happen instantaneously. This is not like TV where you and I can make TV and people can see it, almost the same time. With oil, it takes time to do this stuff.
But it doesn't really help. So the president announces, oh, we're going to do all the oil release, and it doesn't bring the prices down. So why bother doing it?
I'm a little skeptical of it myself. I don't think things should be bad enough that we need to release that oil because we do produce a lot of oil. The impact on the, price of gasoline is going up anyway, and the impact on the economy is not going to be as terrible as some people fear because while consumers are paying more for gasoline, they're not paying it to Saudi Arabia this time, like the way they were in the 70s. They're paying it to Exxon. So Exxon's dividends will go up. They'll have more cash to spend.
The American companies. It's not going overseas, but it's still painful for the American worker who's operating at a very thin margin. And all of a sudden, the oil and utility costs are double what they were. Now, here's the question. President Trump had to know that would happen when he initiated the Iranian campaign, right? I
don't know. I mean, after all, he had advisors.
Don't think he knew?
Hold on a second. Hold on. This administration didn't spend its draft choices, its top draft choices on economists. I mean, these are the same guys who told Bessent and the president that tariffs would not raise prices. And tariffs have, in some measure, raised prices. Foreign producers haven't eaten the tariffs. They've mostly been eaten by American companies and American consumers. So it's not inconceivable to me that they deceived themselves at the White House and that he wasn't getting good information. But even if he was, so he knew, we have to do something about Iran. They are very close to having weapon-grade nuclear material. The time has come. They never stopped. The Wall Street Journal had a very interesting article this morning. They never stopped trying to make a nuclear weapon, even during the period the treaty was in force. Don't let the liberals tell you that Donald Trump disrupted that and that now they're the reason, he's the reason they restarted their program. It was going on all along. No,
I agree with that.
The time has come to put these killers out of business.
I see it the way you see it, as far as Iran being a danger to the world. And I do believe that they were cheating and that our strike last June knocked out most of their nuclear capacity, but not all of it. And I do believe that they actually told the United States, we're not going to stop, because I know that to be true in their last meeting in Geneva. But here's what I don't know. And this is why I can't go in with 100% certainty. The word imminent. And that's what the left is seized upon. What do you mean imminent?
That was a poor choice of words. That was a poor choice of words.
Yeah, because we don't have access to U.S. intel. We don't know what the CIA and Mossad, the Israeli intel service, knows. And I think the president has got to be a little more specific in defining what they call the clear and present danger. Would I be wrong?
Well, we do know, but now we're looking at the notion of sending in the special services and whatnot. And Stratovus, the former commander-in-chief of NATO and of the Southern Command, it says that about 10% of the uranium they have, in a column he wrote yesterday or today, is very close, very, very close to being new weapons grade. So that could be uplifted. I mean, they need to be more specific and give us more information.
If he doesn't source it, then it's just his opinion. See, I'm
well, he's been pretty, but he's been pretty good. He's been pretty good on the fact checking.
Okay,
I
but
mean, in the
then you
sense
get
that,
then you
you
get
don't see
into
him having to walk
but
backwards very often.
okay, but doctor, then you get into if that's true, and this guy has a pipeline in, and he should have, absolutely
If
should.
anybody does
Okay,
on
then
the outside, it'd be somebody
why
like
are the
him.
NATO why are the NATO countries turning their back on the USA and giving us a hard time?
Well, I think it's because the NATO nations really just don't have spine and backbone anymore. Uh, they really, honestly, they're vegetarians in a world of carnivores.
Well,
I
there's
mean,
no doubt that
you,
the continent
they want to
is
wish the
chaotic.
problems away. They
Yeah.
don't want to deal with this. I mean, let's put it
Now,
this way. They tell us we're the essential country in the Ukraine, not to bury the story, right? But if somebody's going to if we're going to finally deal with Russia, it's going to take some boots on the ground there because there's just not enough Ukrainians. When the president of France suggested that to the previous premier of Germany, he went apoplectic. I mean, they just don't want to fight over there. I mean, the Poles do, but there aren't enough of them. But I don't know even that they would put troops in the Ukraine alone. But my feeling is that they want us to do their dirty work for them. And since we went out
always.
in without asking their permission, well, they didn't want to even. Who's going to benefit from us escorting the ships through? It's other countries. They're the ones who need to buy oil on the international market. And Lord knows for next winter, they need Qatar's natural gas. This thing has to be brought to a conclusion. And they're not going to help us do this unless Donald Trump really twists their arm, which he did. Now we'll see if he gets a result.
Well, the relations are at a low point between the USA and NATO right now. You could place the blame wherever you want, but I believe the continent, European nations, are weak. It's particularly Germany. Germany, Italy has actually stepped up. Spain, I would expel. I just kick them right out. Bye.
You're not going to
Adios.
argue any argument for me on that
Adios.
one.
Yeah,
Or at least they ought to be put in the penalty box for a year, Like the Russians can invade Spain if they want to for
right.
1
They're
year.
obnoxious. But they're a socialist country that's veering toward communism in Spain. People don't know that, but that's what's going on. All right, last word about this. I think we have gotten into now an area where we know that the American oil companies are making as much money as they possibly can off this Iranian action. And a lot of us are going to be uncomfortable with that. Last word.
Oh, I think that's right. Americans are going to feel very uncomfortable and feel that it's very unfair that the oil companies profit so much. And the oil companies would do well to use some of that money to benefit
Yeah.
Americans so they might feel better about it.
Okay, doctor, we really appreciate it. Good discussion. I hope you'll come back. Thank you.